audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
Exploring faith and the future. Neil Johnson and Bible teacher Dr. Camille Majdali.
We've been enjoying a journey talking about the Bible and a few brief surveys of some of the biblical books we find in the New Testament. Sometimes those books are called epistles or letters, and zeroing in on the prison epistles. Camille, another one today, the prison epistle that the Apostle Paul wrote to the Colossians.
That's right. Well, first of all, let's remind our listeners that prison epistles are 4 New Testament letters written around the same time, written from the same place, namely prison, very possibly a Roman imprisonment of Paul, where he had the sufficient time, since he couldn't run around planting churches, so he wrote epistles, basically mentoring the Christian church from afar, not just in the first century, but for all centuries. So those epistles are Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, and Philemon or Philemon. Now, the epistle to the Colossians is very special. Colossae is located in Asia Minor. Philippi is in Macedonia, in other words, Europe. Ephesus is also in Asia Minor, so again, continent of Asia. Colossae had a problem as a church, and that is they had their own customized, unique heresy. Now, there were some general heresies throughout the ancient world, like Arianism or Sabellianism or Marcionism. These were found all over the place. But Colossae had its own home-cooked heresy, a combination of, shall we say, Greek philosophizing and Jewish legalism and some kind of Eastern mysticism. And it was really a very serious distraction for that church. What Paul does, which is rather remarkable, of course, totally led by the Holy Spirit, is rather than taking the heresies and the doctrines found therein of Colossae and then addressing them one by one and shooting them down, what he does is something far better. He lifts up the person and work of Christ. The truth of Christ is the antidote for error, for heresy, for everything. And in other words, the epistle to the Colossians is what we call Christological. It's really all about Jesus. Ephesians, another prison epistle, is really all about the church of Christ, whereas Colossians is about the Christ of the church. And the one part there in chapter 1, it tells us something marvelous in verse 15. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created through him and for him.
Interestingly, Camille, the way that these letters, as you say, written in prison, but then sent to the churches, then copied, almost like a first century viral messaging system. The fact that they were letters were a real advantage.
Well, they were short, compact, easy to spread around, easy to memorize, and it was the sovereignty of God that we have the epistles that we do, because not only Colossians, but Philemon, Philemon, which also was written by Paul, all of these got a very important message across in a succinct manner. And just remember, Philemon was probably the beginning of the end of slavery.
Faith and the Future with Neil Johnson and Dr. Camille Majdali from Teach All Nations. For more from Dr. Majdali, including books and DVDs on prophecy, Bible commentaries, plus today's and other episodes of Faith and the Future, go to vision.org.au.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.